So the joys of living in the Bay Area, folks. It's almost mid-April and we're going to get a frost tonight. So all the hard work of planting my tomatoes in the ground, getting so excited that the days are going to get warmer, one frost can kill it all. So anyway, let me show you all the things that I'm doing to protect my plants. So because I know that we sometimes get that odd frost in April, I did not plant all my tomatoes, but I did plant 16 plants. And each of them is going to get a black plastic bucket, 5-gallon bucket on top of them, or maybe purple as well. And then I'm going to drop this frost cover over the plastic pots as well to give them an extra layer of protection. I'm hoping they'll be fine. They've got a good thick mulch layer under them to protect those roots. Potatoes, potatoes, potatoes. Yes, potatoes will get burned or frostbitten if I let them be. So they are too far along now. They're probably forming little potatoes at the bottom, so I don't want to have them restart. So I am going to give them at least some protection. I've already done that bed. I'm putting a nice thick frost blanket. Well, actually, it's a shade cloth, but it's a nice thick shade cloth over them that I hope should be sufficient to protect them. It's also important to prioritize the things that you absolutely want to save and give the most protection to versus the things that you're kind of okay if something goes wrong with them. So I've got a few more things that I absolutely need to protect. First, my young citrus trees that I just got in the ground a couple of weeks ago or less. This one is a lime tree. The limes are even more sensitive than the oranges, so this is one of my highest priority citrus. The mandarin may do okay. I actually might leave it out as an experiment, and it's been in the ground a little bit longer. And also my young fruit trees that are just starting to bud out. I've put this tomato cage on top of it, and I am going to be putting this leaf trash bin over that. Same thing over here with that tomato cage. And I'm going to put this bucket on top of it. This flower corridor here, unfortunately, I got a lot of my zinnias and marigolds, which are frost tender, already planted. So you can see these milk crates. I'm going to be draping some tarp over it and hope that that will be sufficient to protect them. If not, they are a slightly lower priority compared to some of my fruit trees and tomatoes, etc. Now, each of these plants is going to get a little plastic pot put on top of them as well. Overwintered peppers absolutely need to be protected. They are not just leafing out, they are also producing flowers and fruit. So this plastic sheeting that covered them all winter, it's going to go back. I actually had taken it off, hoping that we were done with our cold days, but I'm going to have to put it back on. And finally, my coleus. All these black plastic containers are going to be placed on top of them. They will not survive the cold, particularly they've got very shallow roots right now. That's a Duranta. I'm going to try and protect that as well. And these were actually intended to be the source for a lot more coleus plants that I was going to take cuttings from. And if they die, I'll be very sad. So I'm going to do my best to protect those. And I'm also going to throw a bed sheet on top of these because obviously these things have holes in them. And I just want to give them as much protection as possible. The figs, I think they will be okay. I mean, they are producing brabas, little young first crop figs that may not make it, but I guess that's okay. Started moving things back into the greenhouse that I had taken out to harden off. Things like even these young geranium plants, that fig plant, all my tomato seedlings. Yeah, they're all coming back into the greenhouse tonight. And I had planted some orange hat tomatoes, so I've covered them with little plastic containers. I've used a garden staple to kind of hold it in place. And I'm also going to come out here with a little kitchen towel and put it on top of each of those. So hopefully that will help them survive, but if they don't survive, orange hats grow very quickly, so I'm not too worried. And I've got some roses as well that I just got in the ground about a month ago. So they've just started leafing out. They were bare root, so giving them a little bit of protection as well. All my tomato plants that I've been hardening off outside are going to go back into the sunroom. And I've also got some tomato plants that are hardening off under this elevated self-watering planter. They're all in their little containers, and I'm going to leave them out because they've got this sort of greenhouse over them, and I hope that that will be sufficient to protect them. in my muddy greenhouse. My curry leaf tree has been brought inside. I've pruned it, so it is pretty sensitive and it's getting some tiny little new buds. I brought a brand new hydrangea. I don't know how frost sensitive it is, so I brought it in. And I've got all my cuttings. I've got plenty of fig cuttings, grape cuttings. I've got rosemary. I've got, oh, what's this tomato plant doing here? Persian mulberry. So several different cuttings that are not going to be happy if they're left out in freezing temps. So they all came back inside. So hopefully that gave you some ideas on how to protect your plants if you've got a freak frost coming. Number one, definitely prioritize what you want to protect. Number two, use whatever you've got lying around. You'd be surprised at how many things you can use to protect your plants that are just lying around in your garden. And number three, don't stress too much. They're just plants. You can regrow them as long as you've protected the ones that you love the most. The rest of it, you can plant again.